Too many vegans have this mindset where the game that we're playing is to go through life minimizing the amount of harm that we cause to animals. You might be thinking, hold on a minute, isn't that exactly the game that vegans are supposed to be playing? Well, I'm going to show you why this tends to be a losing game, and more importantly, why there's a much better game that vegans can play instead if their goal is to help animals. Before we dive in, this video is not about saying that vegans are wrong to be vegan. I'm vegan myself. Rather, it's about saying that as vegans, we can become too obsessed with the goal of minimizing all harm that we cause to animals and not pay enough attention to the much more important goal of maximizing the amount of harm that we can prevent coming to animals. Those two might sound somewhat like the same thing, but there's an important difference between the two in terms of what a vegan adopting each mindset is going to do next. On the one hand, you've got the minimizing harm caused mindset. I'm going to call this Vegan 1.0. This mindset focuses on getting closest to zero in terms of the amount of harm that you're personally responsible for causing to animals. This starts with avoiding all animal products, which, again, is something that I do personally. Now, already that's kind of complicated in practice. Am I going to refuse a ride in an Uber if it has leather seats? Probably not. Am I going to refuse some medicine that I need if it has a trace amount of milk powder? Again, probably not. So quite early on as a vegan, you have to say, okay, it can't be about 100% avoiding animal products, but it has to be about avoiding as much as possible and minimizing harm, as the vegan society puts it, as far as possible and practicable. And that's right, and that's correct. One criticism of this definition is that this clause, as far as practicable and possible, is itself kind of open to interpretation. How far is possible and practicable? I've seen vegans going down the rabbit hole of trying to avoid harm as much as possible, and it quickly becomes a game of diminishing returns, with a large amount of additional effort yielding only a small amount of animal suffering prevented. Take for example crop deaths. Now, crop deaths are a bit of a meme talking point for carnists, but they are a real thing. If you're eating just regular vegan food, whether it's plant-based meat or even just vegetables that are grown in industrial agriculture systems, there are inevitably going to be some amount of animals that are killed in the harvesting of that food. Whether it's using pesticides on crops or combine harvesters killing field mice, industrial vegan food production does kill some amount of animals. I've seen some vegans trying to estimate the number of crop deaths per calorie from different vegan foods. You know, if I get my calories from potatoes, it's fewer crop deaths than getting it from wheat, that sort of thing. It is possible to work this out and then to follow the lowest harm diet possible. Maybe the lowest harm diet would be all potatoes. Some people would actually probably love that. The ultimate instantiation of this minimize harm caused principle can be seen in the Jain religion. In Jainism, there's very strict observance of a concept called ahimsa, which means non-violence. Jains take this concept very seriously. They don't eat any meat, they go to great lengths to avoid stepping on insects. The most committed Jain monks actually walk around with a soft broom, sweeping the ground in front of them to avoid stepping on insects. And they even wear a face cloth over their mouth to avoid accidentally inhaling tiny creatures. This level of commitment to reducing harm caused is admirable, and if anybody gets close to causing zero harm, it surely is the Jain monks. But here's the thing about diminishing returns. Each additional bit of effort expended here yields an increasingly small amount of suffering reduced. Right, so it starts out, we're eating less meat, that's avoiding quite a lot of harm caused to animals, and it's not that difficult to do. Great, that seems to be worth doing. Next, we're going to try and avoid stepping on insects. Seems admirable, seems worth doing if possible. Maybe a bit more effort and probably reduces harm by a little bit less. I mean, eventually, you're living in the monastery. You're eating your all-potato diet. You're sweeping the ground in front of you with a broom. And your Jain monk pal turns to you and says, you know, you really should be doing the cloth over the mouth thing. I mean, I'd be thinking there's diminishing returns here. There's got to be a better way. And the same thing applies to veganism, right? I could be a more perfect vegan if I chose to avoid all medicine that had a tiny bit of milk powder in it, even if I needed the medicine. but that would be a great cost to me at a tiny amount of additional benefit to animals. There is a better way of approaching this. Instead of trying to minimize the harm that you cause, why not try to maximize the harm that you prevent? The fact is that with very little effort invested in the right places, you can prevent more harm than you could ever possibly cause through any dietary or other lifestyle choices. I'm going to say that again, because you weren't ready for it. With very little effort invested in the right places, you can prevent more harm than you or anybody else could cause through any diet or other lifestyle choices. The implications of this are massive. This is like spending years trying to eat right in order to improve your health, and then suddenly discovering exercise. That's right, it's no longer about eating less of those foods, restricting things, and doing less of the things that cause harm. It's about doing more of the things that help. In the case of veganism, that means giving more, sharing more, and doing more. These three things are far more important than what you eat personally. I'm serious. If you're a vegan, as I am, it's very easy to get obsessed with the crisps that have started using milk powder again, or the pub that puts their chips in the same fryer as the fish. If you're a vegan and you're getting upset about things like that in your food, but you're not giving more, sharing more, and doing more of the things that I'm about to tell you about, then you're just like the person who's obsessively calorie counting but doesn't have the fitness to run half a mile. In fact, if you do these three things, you're going to help more animals than you or anybody else can possibly affect through their diet alone. I call this mindset Vegan 2.0. First, give more. When I have something that I want to get done in my house, I'll very often pay a professional to do it. They can do it better than I can, and frankly I often don't have time to do the thing myself. Well, as it turns out, you can do the same thing for animal advocacy. There are animal charities that employ professional animal advocates, and as it turns out, some of them are bloody good at it. How do we work out the best charities to give to? Well, we can delegate that too, to animal charity evaluators. This is an organisation which employs people whose job it is to work out the best charities that you can give your money to help the most animals. Excitingly, their top charities are estimated to be thousands of times more impactful than average animal charities. So already knowing about this resource makes a £100 donation like a £100,000 donation. In fact, animal charity evaluators make it super easy to give to their top recommended charities through their recommended charities fund. Look, it's the beginning of the month now. It is a good time to set up a new standing order. Why not head over to animalcharityevaluators.org/donate and set up a regular monthly donation to their recommended charities fund. If you're already a vegan, then a modest monthly donation here could double your impact for animals. And if you're not a vegan, but you've somehow made it this far into this video, then a modest monthly donation here could make as much difference for animals as if you were a vegan. So pause the video right now, go find the link in the description and set up a monthly donation to Animal Charity Evaluators Recommended Charity Fund. Go and do it now. Second, share more. What we see in the media matters. That much is obvious. In fact, it matters so much that powerful people have fought for control of the media ever since there was a media. From the times of churches and states trying to control the printing presses, through to Rupert Murdoch owning all of the newspapers and TV stations, and through to Elon Musk buying Twitter. But now more than ever, those gatekeepers of the media can be bypassed. Anybody with a phone and an internet connection can share content with the world and get attention paid. Granted, this can come with some problems of its own, but insofar as you're sharing content which is likely to reduce animal suffering, this is a huge opportunity that people have today, which we just didn't have 20 years ago. Now, if a lot of your friends or followers are meat eaters and you want to post things to encourage them to eat less meat, you should focus on posting sad images of animals suffering on farms or in slaughterhouses, or kind of gross images or news stories, for example, about fecal contamination in meat samples, that kind of thing. These are shown to be the most effective at inspiring actual dietary change. You should try and get people to feel sad, angry, or disgusted. This is advice for animal advocacy posts, not for your online dating profile. If a lot of your friends or followers are already vegan, you might think about sharing content that encourages them to give more, share more, and do more for animals. For example, you might think about sharing this video. Look, I know I've got 12,000 subs, but I bloody well paid for them, alright? My videos only get 200 views, so stick me on a subreddit or something, would you? If a large proportion of your friends or followers are non-vegans, you might want to think about having at least 50% of your content being non-vegan content so that it remains relatable to the people who are following you. Otherwise, your stuff is going to tend to not show up in their algorithm and you won't be having the effect that you want. Finally, an important part of the share more rule is to like more. Yes, indeed, liking content on social media does indeed maximize harm prevented. You might like to like this video, for example. You know the feeling, right? You write out that social media post, or you edit your photos, whatever it may be, you go to hit post, and you wait with anticipation. You're hoping that your content is well received, and that you get likes. On some level, you are looking for that social approval. If none of your vegan posts ever get any likes, you probably won't be making vegan posts for very long. So when you see someone who is putting themselves out there, making the effort, probably annoying their non-vegan friends and family who followed them, for goodness sake, at least give them a like. Third, do more. Look, I get it. We're all busy and most of us don't have hours to spare to go and do street activism. Frankly, even if we did have the time, a lot of us would think that that kind of thing is just not a good fit for our personality. Don't get me wrong, activists like Joey Carbstrong and Earthling Ed and people who do Anonymous for the Voiceless, who can talk to random people on the streets and be fluent and compelling, they blow my mind. They're really impressive and it's really important work. But it's not for everybody. Not everyone can do that. Fortunately for us mere mortals, there are other ways of doing more for animals that don't require you to have the charisma level of vegan Jesus. Platforms like the Humane League's Fast Action Network are basically gamified email and social media campaigns for animals. You can sign up and get a feed of all of the corporations and corporate leaders that are to be targeted with communications that day, and you'll get links to their emails and their social media accounts so that you can let them know what you think about their practices in a manner which is compliant with platform terms of service and applicable laws in your country. Meanwhile, UKVotersForAnimals.org is an organisation which coordinates voters around the country to ask their MPs to support initiatives which are going to help animals. By researching the relevant bills and committees and then coordinating with voters from all around the country, this organisation can amplify your voice as a UK voter to really help animals. These are two really easy ways that you can do more to maximise the harm prevented to animals without a big upfront time or social commitment. In other words, you don't have to be out on the streets being the most committed activist ever, but for goodness sake, sign up to send some emails. We're trying to end factory farming here. The links to the two platforms I mentioned are in the description. Go and check them out and start doing more for animals today. The conventional vegan mindset, Vegan 1.0, is focused on minimizing harm caused. This is an admirable goal, but it quickly runs into the problem of diminishing returns, whereby a lot of extra effort yields only a small amount of additional harm minimized. Instead, the upgraded vegan mindset, Vegan 2.0, is focused on maximizing harm prevented. This approach allows you to just help more and more animals, and allows one person to offset the animal harm of thousands of meat eaters. This is not an exaggeration or a metaphor. This change in mindset can be life-changing for vegans. You can go from a harm-caused minimized mindset, where you never leave your house and only eat potatoes, to a harm-prevented maximized mindset, where you get to be a philanthropist or an influencer or an activist. You can go from trying to tread as lightly as possible through life and feeling like you need to apologize for existing, to getting up each day excited to go out on the attack, give more, share more, and do more for animals. Upgrade your mindset to Vegan 2.0 today. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and most importantly, share with a vegan who needs to hear this message. This is Chris Bryant, PhD. Cheers.